Hi everybody, Jane here. Thank you so much for watching today and a happy end to 2025 if you're watching this on the 31st of December, and if you're watching it after the 31st of December, happy 2026. So I thought for the end of the year I would go on to do a project today that is quite fun, quite free, quite liberating, and with a touch of gold, just because I always feel that New Year's Eve is sort of a bit of a sparkle and gold sort of part of the year, so there'll be a little bit of that in there too. So I'm using my Etchr sketchbook. I thought I'd end the year using one of my favourite sketchbooks from this year and using my favourite colours. So I'm going in with the blues, the turquoises, and I'm using Core and Daniel Smith, I think, for this first part. So I've blocked off my 2 pages with some painter's tape to make a grid, and I was just having fun. And I know that for many people this sort of time of the year is a lot about looking back and thinking forwards. To be totally honest, I don't really see New Year in that way, and for me time is a continuum, and for me it's just another day, and that I want to do things. If I want to change things, I don't wait for a break in an artificial break in a time. I just do it when I want to. So if it is a time for you to look back, then I hope that you look back and are able to see lots of nice positive things in the past year. And I hope that you are able to look forward to lots of fun things to look forward to in 2026. Now here once the initial paint had dried, and I do want to emphasize I do wait for my layers to dry. I know that on a video it looks like everything is just a continuous events, but when you have those breaks in between parts of the video, there is drying time in there, and I do need to make sure I'm saying that more, because I realize that that's not always obviously quite obvious to everybody, but I did wait for it to dry. Sometimes I add a little bit of a heat tool to it if I'm trying to go through things a little bit quicker. And now I'm just adding on some of the Kuretake Gansai Tambi gold paint just to lighten up the background a bit. The colours I used for the background were, I think it was Cobalt, Teal, Indigo, and the Daniel Smith Ultramarine Turquoise. And I used a range of different brushes to make those marks. And now I'm going in with even more turquoise in with the woody. And I was just, as I said, I was having fun with this page. I just wanted it to be really light, really just expressive, and not thinking too much about it at all. So I'm adding in the turquoise pencil, and then I also add in some of the darker, sort of more of a tealy colour of Tempera stick, which gives that nice dark contrast on each of the blocks. Now, I tend to make sure I put things in each of my squares, in each of the grid parts, because that's just how I like my page to look. But sometimes I will go over more than one and just see what I get at the end of it. And that's the fun thing with these grid pages, is that you get that final reveal. Now, I have to admit, I made another version of this page to start with, and this next, not this next section, because this next section I'm doing my white pen, which I did do on the original. On my original one, I decided that I wanted to use gilding flakes. And what I hadn't sort of took into account was, I think where there was probably stickiness already on the page, I put some gilding glue through a stencil, which I'm going to do on this page but with paint instead, and I then added on my gilding flakes once it had gone tacky, and because there was too much tackiness, it ended up just looking a big blob of gilding flakes. So I decided that I wanted to start a new page. So I did sort of play around with the page a bit more, but I decided I really wasn't that keen. And I wanted to try it again, but using paint instead of gilding flakes. So this is my second attempt at this page. Well, not my second attempt, it's a revision. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I start filming a page, I don't like how it goes, and I don't feel that it's helping anybody to learn anything. Not that these are really to learn things, they're just to give you inspiration, but I thought, well, I'll do it again in a different way and see if I prefer the look. And I did, and I went a lot lighter with the paint on this one as well. I do sometimes keep videos in where I really am not sure about where things are going, but if I know I totally don't think it's gone at all how I want, I often will start again and change something slightly. And that's, you know, I don't rip my pages out. I leave them in the journal or in the sketchbook. And they're still there and they've still been done. And I value those pages probably as much, if not more sometimes, than the ones that just go right from the start, because they've taught me something along the way. They've taught me usually about mediums and materials, because I'm not too worried about finished, you know, look. I'm not trying to create something that's going to go in an art gallery, but I like to be able to use my mediums, my products to their full potential. I want them to be able, you know, to use them to their best. And so I was much happier with how the paint looked. And here I am actually heating it with a heat tool. And this also helps to loosen up that tape a little bit. I always forget which part I put on last, but you know, that usually helps. So I was heating as I went this time. I don't always do that. And actually I find the Etchr sketchbook actually doesn't tear that much. It's actually quite good for this tape. It doesn't usually pose much of a problem for me. And I do like this blue painter's tape. It seems to hold the lines better than some of the other sorts of tape I've found, because I think it is a lot thicker. It's more plasticky. It sort of repels the watercolour a lot more. If I wasn't using watercolour, I wouldn't worry so much. Then I've just found this little gnome and this sentiment, and they were both from Lemon Creation, who unfortunately isn't selling physical products anymore, but you can still get digital products, I do believe, from her website. So I will link her website down below if you're interested in digital products, because I think like her sentiments and characters may still be available, but you just buy a digital file and you print it. So she's not sending out any more physical stamps, stencils, those sorts of things anymore. And that's another reason why I now don't really link products in the description box, because I use what I have in my stash. I am not getting new products just to use in videos. So with the way the world is at the moment, companies come, companies go, products come, products go. So what I use may not be available. So I will tell you what I've used, but I really would encourage everybody to use what you have. If I'm using a circle stencil, then I'm sure there are many different circle stencils available that would do the same sort of job. So I'm just sticking those onto my page, and here is my final spread, which I really enjoyed, and I do love that touch of gold. It really does go with that New Year vibe. And I do believe, I can't remember, let's make better mistakes next year or this year, I think it says, for the sentiment, which I thought really is, you know, I don't set New Year's resolutions. I might have an idea of a few things I want to do during the year, but I'm very much a go with the flow kind of person. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, it'd be fab if you did. Here are a list of my lovely super supporters who are my YouTube members. I'll put some info about that in the description box. Oh, and you can also hype if you like. That's another great thing for smaller YouTubers. So happy New Year to you all, and until the next time, bye bye.